All right. Now we're going to get down to the OSHA standard nitty gritty on subpart P, which is titled Hand and Power Portable Tools and Other Handheld Equipment. There are three standards in this: 1910 to 241, 242, 243, and 244. Makes sense. 243 is pretty long, so we're going to do that one separately. So we're going to cover the other three, which aren't too long, right here and right now. So fasten your seatbelts. All right. Yep. As used in this subpart, 1941, the explosive actuated fastening tool terms. So we're going to do some definitions. Well, let me go back this a little bit. Okay, this and the title here, right here, is definitions of this whole section. Like I said, OSHA is not really consistent. Sometimes they throw definitions like in paragraph A or B, and usually A is scope, B is definitions, but sometimes they throw it in our whole standard number 241. So this is definitions. Explosive actuated fastening tool terms. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Hammer operated piston tool, low velocity type, a tool which by means of a heavy mass hammer supplemented by a load moves a piston designed to be captive to drive a stud, pin, or fastener into a work surface, always starting the fastener at rest and in contact with the work surface. It shall be so designed that when used with any load that accurately chambers in it and that is commercially available at the time the tool is submitted for approval, it will not cause such stud, pin, or fastener to have a mean velocity in excess of 300 feet per second when measured 6.5 feet from the muzzle end of the barrel. Okay. I'm going to assume this all these 300 feet per second and all that stuff, that's going to be something that the tool would be to get compliant with this, and you don't have to go measure that. High velocity tool, a tool or machine which, when used with a load, propels or discharges a stud, pin, or fastener at velocity in excess of 300 feet per second when measured 6.5 feet from the muzzle end of the barrel for the purpose of impinging it upon, affixing it to, or penetrating another object or material. So the first one has whatever is going to be driven is up against the target, and this one's going to shoot it at it. Low velocity piston tool, a tool that utilizes a piston designed to be captive to drive a stud, pin, or fastener into a work surface. It shall be so designed that when used with any load that accurately chambers in it and that is commercially available at the time the tool is submitted for approval, it will not cause such stud, pin, or fastener to have a mean velocity in excess of 300 feet per second when measured 6.5 feet from the muzzle end of the barrel. Stud, pin, or fastener, a fastening device specifically designed and manufactured for use in explosive actuated fastening tools. To chamber, to fit properly without the use of excess force, a case being duly supported, just like you chamber around in a gun, kind of the same principle. Explosive power load, also known as load, any substance in any form capable of producing a propellant force. Tool, an explosive actuated fastening tool, unless otherwise indicated, and all accessories pertaining thereto. In other words, they're defining the word tool in this standard as an explosive actuated fastening tool. Protective shield or guard, a device or guard attached to the muzzle end of the tool, which is designed to confine flying particles. Abrasive wheel terms. This is paragraph B now. Mounted wheels. Mounted wheels, usually 2-inch diameter or smaller and of various shapes, may be either organic or inorganic bonded abrasive wheels. They are secured to plain or threaded steel mandrels, usually 2 inches or smaller. That's pretty small. Tuck pointing, removal by grinding of cement, mortar, or other non-metallic jointing material. Tuck pointing wheels. Tuck pointing wheels, usually type 1, reinforced organic bonded wheels, have diameter, thickness, and hole size dimension. They are subject to the same limitations of use and mounting as type 1 wheels defined in subparagraph 10 of this section. Limitation: wheels used for tuck pointing should be reinforced. So that's in 243. These are things that are used in specific industries, and so we're not going to spend a lot of time on them. Now, portable grinding, that's a grinding operation where the grinding machine is designed to be handheld and may be easily moved from one location to another. So portable grinding means portable grinder. Organic bonded wheels. Organic wheels are wheels which are bonded by means of an organic material such as resin, rubber, shellac, or other similar bonding agent. Safety guard. A safety guard is an enclosure designed to restrain the pieces of the grinding wheel and furnish all possible protection in the event that the wheel is broken in operation. Sometimes grinding wheels break, and when they do, they can be very dangerous. Reinforced wheels. The term reinforced as applied to grinding wheels shall define a class of organic wheels which contain strengthening fabric or filament. The term reinforced does not cover wheels using such mechanical additions as steel rings, steel cutbacks, or wire or tape winding. Type 11 flaring cup wheels, and I'm not going to even read that because whatever. They have pictures here, and you click them, and you get a 404. So found not found. So but they are in the standards. You can look it up in your OSHA book if you want to. And side grinding wheels have very roller tapered. So again, you can look these up. Type 6 straight wheels. Again, they're not going to look at all these nuances here. Side grinding will have a diameter thickness and hole with one side straight or flat and the opposite side recessed. And that differs from type 5. But again, we're not going to get in all these peculiarities of the different type of grinding wheels. If you want to see them, they're in the book, but these won't be on a test or anything like that. Now, jack terms. Jack is an appliance for lifting and lowering or moving horizontally a load by application of a pushing force. We all know what jacks are. Most of us think of jack. What do you think? A car jack, right? I don't mean stealing a car. I mean car, jack up a car, change tire. Jacks may be of the following type: lever and ratchet, screw and hydraulic. The jack you used to get your car up used to be lever and ratchet all the time, but now there's screw type. It's probably better. Could be hydraulic, but not for your car usually. Maybe in the shop, but not on the field, on the road. Rating. The rating of a jack is the maximum working load for which it is designed to lift safely that load throughout its specified amount of travel. Note, to raise the rated load of a jack, the point of application of the load, the applied force, and the length of lever arm should be those designated by the manufacturer for the particular jack considered. So we all know that stuff like that's going to have some kind of a rating or load limit on it, which you don't want to exceed. All right, that's 241 definition. Now 242 is really huge, so hang on. Okay, this is about hand and portable power tools and equipment in general. 242A, general requirements. Each employer shall be responsible for the safe condition of tools and equipment used by employees, including tools and equipment which may be furnished by employees. Now, we just mentioned that in the other video. That's important enough to mention it again. And B, compressed air used for cleaning. Compressed air should not be used for cleaning purposes except where reduced to less than 30 psi, that's pounds per square inch, and then only with effective chip guarding and personal protective equipment. That was also mentioned in the previous video for good reason. Those are two things that you are going to need and going to come across. I'm almost positive in your career. And the first one is important because some companies do this, and it's okay to do that, require usually maintenance people to bring their own tools. And that's okay, but the employer is still responsible for the safe condition of those tools and equipment used by employees. So bear that in mind. That's all there is to that huge standard, 2 paragraphs, my kind of standard. All right, the last one here in this particular video is 244, other portable tools and equipment. Jacks, here we go again, loading and marking. The operator shall make sure that the jack used has a rating sufficient to lift and sustain the load. Makes sense. The rated load shall be legibly and permanently marked in a prominent location on the jack by casting, stamping, or other suitable means. Operation and maintenance. In the absence of a firm foundation, the base of the jack shall be blocked. If there is a possibility of slippage of the cap, block shall be placed in the cap on the load. The operator shall watch the stop indicator, which shall be kept clean in order to determine the limit of travel. The indicated limit shall not be overrun. After the load has been raised, it shall be cribbed, blocked, or otherwise secured at once. So you notice this bottom one here? So the jack is used to get the load up. But once it's up, you need to otherwise secure it. You don't use the jack to secure it up while you're working on it. Not a good idea to work under something that's just being supported by a jack. Hydraulic jacks exposed to freezing temperatures shall be supplied with an adequate antifreeze liquid. Makes a lot of sense. All jacks shall be properly lubricated at regular intervals. Surprised they didn't mention manufacturer's instructions in there. Each jack shall be thoroughly inspected at times which depend upon the service conditions. Inspection shall be not less frequent than the following. That's a little common sense here. This is inspections of jacks for constant or intermittent use at one locality once every 6 months. Constant or intermittent use. So in other words, you're going to use it pretty often. And if that's the case, you only have to inspect it every 6 months at one locality. That's kind of important too. It makes a lot of sense because if you move it around a little bit, you kind of lose track of it. And how do you know when it's inspected? So at one locality. For jacks sent out of shop for special work, they have to be inspected when they're sent out and when they're returned. So you have a tool crib maybe or something like that, or your people are taking a jack somewhere else, bringing it back. So if it's not being there all the time, then it has to be inspected when it's sent out, when it's returned. For a jack subject to abnormal load or shock, it must be inspected immediately before and immediately thereafter. Now, sometimes you don't always know it before, or you wouldn't subject it to an abnormal load or shock. But if you think it's going to be inspected before and immediately thereafter, and that's really a lot of common sense right there, and good idea. Replacement or repair replacement parts shall be examined for possible defects. Jacks which are out of order shall be tagged accordingly and shall not be used until repairs are made. That's pretty universal across any equipment or any forklifts or anything. If they're ladders, if they're out of order, they should be tagged and not be used until repairs are made. Very common sense. Abrasive blast cleaning nozzles. The blast cleaning nozzle shall be equipped with an operating valve, which must be held open manually. A support shall be provided on which the nozzle may be mounted when it's not in use. So in other words, a blast cleaning nozzle, if you, that's kind of like a dead man switch. If you let go of it, it's going to go off. And that's all of that standard too. So you can see those standards aren't too humongous, those three. And the funniest part is the middle one that only has 2 paragraphs. It's probably the one that's going to come into play most often in your career. So, all right, that is those 3, and they're not very long. And so the other one, 243, we'll cover in the next video. And then you'll be done watching me when it comes to hand and power tools. Aren't you lucky? Be safe.